All right, so Tomorrow Morrow had asked earlier if no, I mean we're having a little AMA. I'm just taking a break from work during a co-working session. Come by rwxrob.tv if you want to watch. A lot of these videos on YouTube don't. All the stuff I do doesn't ever make it on YouTube. Um, but the question is this: how, I've been doing this for what 8 months now, and I really didn't have a guide going into it. I had a lot of friends with a lot of opinions about how to learn Kubernetes. Um, yeah, and so the question is, knowing what you know now, how would you change your approach to learning Kubernetes? And I think this is an important question. So the first thing I would change is, um, I I'm gonna you kind of have to learn Minikube and kind and micro Kubernetes, right? So the first thing I would do, I would focus entirely on learning with kind, and that includes a bunch of things that you might not want to do. Uh, how to add an ingress, and including how to add uh, a load balancer. So MetalLB is the one I use, and NGINX. You could use all kinds. See, I mean, I didn't even know these things before. NGINX. So, and the other thing I would do is I did not do this. I would watch Nana's 4 hour thing. Nana's Zero to Hero in Kubernetes. It's really old, but it gives you a good overview. It's free. And I would focus on learning. Well, first of all, this is the biggest thing. I don't want to say this. Master Docker and Docker bridge networks. That is so important. And I would not waste time on Docker Compose. I mean, Compose is nice, and you can use it to help you learn Kubernetes, but I would not waste time on it. I didn't. That's something I did right. I kept that. The 1 hour thing. Yeah. And Nana's got a good thing on networking, but she doesn't tell you the good stuff. She holds it now. She's charging, which she probably should. She's got good information. Mastering Docker, Dockerfile, and Docker bridge networks. So you really have to have. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to confess something that I was really stupid about. I had no idea. This is how clueless I was 8.5 months ago. I never made a Docker file. I'd used Docker maybe a couple times, and people tell me use Docker to run Minecraft servers for your kids. And I'm like, no, I can just use Minecraft. I don't need it. And I didn't. I was kind of old school, and because I didn't need it. Honestly, I didn't need it. And then I started. So when I went into this. This is really stupid. I'm really ashamed to admit this. But I tried to learn Kubernetes before learning Docker. Pause for effect. I know you're laughing your ass off right now, but that's exactly what I did. I did not know. I knew so little about this whole entire thing. I was an old school server person, had all our people on a single server. And I had no idea that Kubernetes was related to Docker. I mean, I was that clueless. And so I thought, well, why the fuck would I waste time with Docker? I can just learn Kubernetes. Seems like the same thing. If you know Docker or Kubernetes at all, you know how stupid that is. It's not stupid. It was stupid. Ignorant. How about that? I just did not know. I had no idea. So you can't learn Kubernetes until you know what containers are about. So learn containers. Learn everything about containers, right? And that includes Docker, Dockerfile, and Docker Abridged. Don't waste time on Docker Compose. In my opinion, it is a waste of time. Good people disagree with me on that. They think it's a good stepping stone. I don't. I think it's a waste of time. I still feel that way, actually. So learn containers, learn Docker. If you learn, it's not gonna confuse you. If you know, especially if you learn, Compose, Docker, Kubernetes Compose with a K, which will take your Docker file and turn it into a bunch of verbose Kubernetes resource manifest files. Those are the YAML files that come with it. And so, yeah. But the other major thing that I would change is I would immediately start work on a local physical cluster. And if you know what I mean by that is you cannot understand Kubernetes. And okay, this is very specific. I'm going to put this. There's a caveat here. So this is specifically since I support an on-prem cluster. There's a lot of people in the Kubernetes world who are in the cloud and stuff, and you got to learn your cloud platform in order to maintain everything. But things like your load balancer in the cloud, it goes with the cloud. The cloud provides the load balancer, and sometimes the Ingress. That is not the case if you're on-prem. Actually, I think it's kind of bad to learn cloud. I haven't, so I can't really say. I don't have a strong opinion on this. But I think learning cloud Kubernetes could actually hurt you because it does so much for you in the long term. And if you're gonna, so let me put this. So I'm gonna put this caveat here. My opinions are specifically for an infrastructure engineer role, and especially for running a cluster anywhere. No. And that's what I'm trying to come up with, Og. So I'm still in the middle of learning that. That's what the red thing back there is going to be over Christmas in the next week, a week from now. I'm going to be in hardware mode, and I'm going to be taking a bunch of old hardware that I have and turning it into a cluster. And by the way, the older and weirder the hardware, the better. Why? Why is having really crazy ass hardware better for you in your physical cluster? Cannot spell today. What the fuck? I need to stop. Why? You want really weird, heterogeneous stuff in your cluster at home because you want to be able to, you want to force problems to happen, because that's the whole point. The whole point is for you to learn to be a good operator, and stuff's going to go bad and it's going to break, or it's going to be a different OS. That also means, I'm not going to make a nice, pretty cluster with the same OS and everything. I'm going to have as many OSs as possible without getting too crazy. I'm going to put Talos on there, Sodero. I'm going to put, Raspberry Pis in there on ARM, so we can have affinity for ARM CPUs. I'm going to put a couple old MSI Tridents with GPUs in there. I'm going to put some Mac Minis in there running, CentOS or whatever, Red Hat. And so I'm going to put it all in there, because the whole point of Kubernetes is supposed to be to take all of your existing hardware and leverage that as a cluster and orchestrate it and keep it running and load balanced and happy. And so the crazier your on-prem system is, the better. So people who make on-prem clusters that are all nice and pretty and they're in their racks and they all have the same homogeneous, blade servers and all that stuff. No. And I'm actually shunning virtual machines. Personally, I hate them. I think, and even Docker, even Minikube doesn't do this anymore. Minikube, I just read a blog last week. It was published, and it was totally wrong. It said that Minikube used virtual machines. It doesn't. By default, Minikube will use Docker on your system. Any container, if it detects a container engine on your system, Minikube by default will use that as your driver. Minikube has any number of drivers you can use. And it used to be, it just used, VM, and you had to have VMware installed in order to use it. Not anymore. Now, I don't use Minikube at all. I've been using Minikube up until 3 days ago. I used Minikube for one reason. It had better plug-in support for Ingress and load balancing and node ports and all this stuff that make it hard to test your stuff because you got to mess with networking. But I've come to realize this week I've been really focused on networking stuff. And I would learn containers and networking well. If you don't know networking, forget it. Learn Linux containers and networking well. Now I already knew that, but networking I already knew well. But I would specifically have dove into more of the Docker bridge networks and understand how that works and how things are routed and everything. Because knowing networking is what demystifies Kubernetes more than anything else. Because then you can see how everything, it's all just a bunch of REST APIs talking to each other. So if you can figure out how everything is talking to each other, I think that'll help you get the handle on it the most. It's hard though. So, and I really don't like virtual machines. Somebody presented a number of 30%. There's a 30% loss of efficiency for use of any virtual machine in a Kubernetes cluster. I think it's stupid. I think there's no need for it. I don't see why people are provisioning hardware using a virtual machine and then paying that price to run Kubernetes on there and only Kubernetes on there. And it's another reason that I'm really into, even if you do cloud, doing on-prem. Why? Because if you're doing on-prem, on-prem helps you get good with everything, not just Kubernetes. So you have to know how to set up OSs. You have to know how to network boot, which I haven't done yet. So on-prem does not make sense, right? And so again, I added this first line here as importantly because I really want everybody to understand that my role is supporting a high-performance machine learning Kubernetes cluster on-prem above everything else. We do have a hybrid thing going on. Not well, by the way. No, hybrid is no. The latencies between the availability zones is too high, so you can't do what you think you can do. Everybody who's going into it thinks they can. If you have more than 2 millisecond latency between your thing, it'll screw it up. So most like even, you can't. You just can't do it, especially if you're going to try to put your etcd over it. No. You can't. The idea of having some of your clusters span the network, like have some of your nodes be on-prem and the other nodes be in Docker, that is a huge anti-pattern. Do not do that. Your cluster will collapse and fail. etcd will like scream bloody murder and die. Do not do that. It's really bad to do that. If you're going to do a cloud thing, put everything, have an entire cluster in the cloud and manage it independently and put your applications over there. And if those applications need to talk to something on-prem, fine. Create ingress routes and all that stuff and do regular REST APIs as if it was two big, separate data centers or separate companies that are talking to each other to have access over the internet or whatever. That's fine. Your latency problems are not going to be as big an issue because all your latency sensitive applications will all be in the cluster, in the cloud, or they'll all be on-prem. So the reason that cloud provider, they're giving, the cloud providers are stumbling over themselves to give you on-prem metal access because they know where this is going. And this is why my recommendation, this is the biggest realization over the last 8 months. The biggest realization I made over the last 8 months is that the future of Kubernetes is metal. Kubernetes on metal, not on VMs. The future, particularly because of machine learning, and I specifically maintain there's 200 plus machine learning experts in our environment who do things that would just amazingly curl your toes because they're so fucking cool. And they're doing them on on-prem clusters because they have access to the GPUs and they're not in the cloud. So I'm telling you, this is why I'm watching on-prem on Metal Kubernetes more than anyone. And the only way you can prepare for on-prem on Metal Kubernetes is put Kubernetes on-prem on your own Metal. Doesn't matter how good the Metal is. The Metal could be like your grandma's computer that you found at Christmas. It was in the corner and she has her taxes on it. Never want to get rid of it. So you tell her, hey, grandma, I'll get rid of your taxes on there if I can have your computer. Can I put it in my cluster? Oh, yeah, that's fine. Do that. Go gather up as much old, I mean, God knows Linux breathes new life into old machines, right? Find laptops, doesn't matter. As long as it will run. As long as it will run. And you know what? Even if it overheats, who gives a shit? Because Kubernetes. So yeah, seriously, this like ugly ass IKEA cluster right here is perfect for me. You're going to put all this hardware in there. You can put old laptops and get them running. Anything you can get to keep running, turn the screen off or whatever. Pull it, get it all in there. And it's actually a good thing. You want nodes to fail because when the nodes fail, because they burned out or they rebooted or they ran out of battery or the battery died or something, that's really awesome because then that proves whether your Kubernetes cluster is it's supposed to be able to take that kind of stuff. That's the whole point. Yeah, we've been watching Oxide as well. Oxide's a different thing. As far as we know, nobody actually knows what it's going to be. But yeah. So what I'm trying to say is the biggest takeaway from this is that the future of Kubernetes, in my opinion, is on-prem. Now, the cloud providers, Amazon and Google and Azure, they would have you believe otherwise. And if you don't think the two major outages with Amazon that happened over the last 2.5 weeks are not getting everybody to think about on-prem, think again. Everybody's like, if I bring some of this stuff on-prem and I can find the people and I can keep it secure, huge conditions, by the way. If I can do those things, I can save money and I can keep from going down when Amazon goes down. Either way, you're better off. If you learn on-prem, learning cloud is easy. Because then if you learn on-prem first, if you learn how to do your own on-prem and you learn how to use MetalLB and build your own NGINX, your own Ingress, then when it comes time to switch over to cloud and maintain something on cloud, which I haven't done, but if you do that, you'll be like, oh, so they have their own load balancer. Cool, I don't have to do MetalLB. Because you already know it, because you have a greater scope of knowledge because you did it all on-prem. So then when you go to cloud, you're like, oh, I understand all this stuff. They have their own things for this and X and Y, their own CNI, the network interfaces and all that stuff. They have their own container engines that they use, blah, 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 blah. But you know all of that because you went through all the pain and suffering to do it the hard way by putting it on your own prem cluster. So it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. I don't know how much heat it's going to put out, honestly. I don't know if I have the power to do it. We're going to find out. But I've run a lab in the past. I don't suggest running anything on it that's important in terms of like providing other people inbound access to your cluster. What am I going to do with my cluster? I'm going to put a bunch of machine learning model crunching on there. I want to learn machine learning as well because machine learning is the future. Machine learning is the future. Programming is going to diminish and machine learning is going to take over. That's pretty much written in stone at this point. And so maybe curious eventually, is it Cryption? And Kubernetes. Yeah, she's good. So what am I going to run in my cluster to test it? I'm going to be running, I don't know yet, so this is kind of a future thing. I'm going to try to learn machine learning stuff. I'm going to run the same applications that we maintain at work, which means I'm going to be installing Elasticsearch if I can do it for free. I don't even know if I can do that. The ECK stuff. I'm going to be installing Elasticsearch. I'm going to be installing Jupyter Hub. Going to be all the applications that I have to maintain. Argo. There's a ton of applications that automatically kind of get assumed when you run a cluster for an enterprise, and there's about 20 or more of them, and I'm going to be running all of those in my cluster, trying to make them useful. And if I have actually any load of any kind, I'll be running my own machine learning models, and I'll be running my own bug bounty scanning So that's something I wanted to do for a long time. I'm going to leave my cluster on. I'm just going to have it scan the crap out of the whole network, looking for bug bounty opportunities, and have it just report back to me, and then see how that goes. I've never done it. I haven't found a bug bounty yet, but I'm pretty confident I could do it. So particularly now with Log4j, the people that are cashing in on bug bounties right now has got to be just insane. They got, but actually the problem is that nobody's got any Log4j bug bounties posted yet, but they will by the beginning of the year. And the number of bugs you're going to be able to find, anything that's running any server Java backend, yeah, including Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch is critically vulnerable. Yep, it's got Log4j in there a lot. So if there's one thing this year has taught me, it's not related to Kubernetes, it's that there's plenty of opportunity for security bug bounty fun on the side. I think doing the mainstream support for cloud on-prem that I'm doing it pays the bills. It's fun. It keeps me fresh. It keeps my Kubernetes skills going. Keeps me employable. And then I'm going to be doing the security thing as well as the mentoring thing on the side. And I'll be hacking the shit out as much stuff as I can find. And for fun and profit, I'm not going to break the law there, at least not on stream. and then, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. And then beyond that, it's just, do the mentoring thing. So I'll be doing crunchy and stuff like that. Hopefully that answers your question. It's kind of a long one, but that's the thing. So the TLDR here is the biggest thing I would change would be I would immediately start collecting hardware to build a physical cluster. That's the first thing I would do, because it's going to take time to get that hardware and collect it. I wouldn't buy new hardware. Absolutely. Raspberry Pis are nice and all, but the problem with a Raspberry Pi is you can't test the GPU and other stuff that has to run on the images that have to run on AMD or whatever, AMD 64. So you can't just use a Raspberry Pi cluster. You have to have 1, 2, 4, 10, old junky computers in there, and get those. And don't pay money though. Don't pay any money. I mean, Acers are down to like $200-300, for like an old shit serious Acer, with a GPU in it. And so I wouldn't spend a lot of money. That's the first thing I would focus on. And then I would force myself to use Kind for everything locally. Even though they suggest Minikube on the site or Kind is really taken over from Minikube. And I got into Minikube for a bit, but now that I understand Ingress and networking better, Kind is definitely the way to go, because the knowledge you get by setting up Kind directly translates into setting up a Kubernetes cluster on-prem, specifically adding an Ingress and a load balancer. So those are things that I would really focus on. And of course, learn Docker. Yeah, go to your local e-waste center. It's crazy what people throw away. I'm not doing the Minecraft server. I canceled it. I canceled the Minecraft server after the Log4j thing. And then it got me rethinking it. I don't want to have any. I don't want the maintenance hassle of that. Unless somebody else wants to do it, I'd be happy. If somebody else wants to sponsor a Minecraft server, I'd be happy to have the community do that. But I'm not going to waste a second administrating a Minecraft server. If somebody else wants to do it, I actually eliminated that because somebody was asking, because I was going to spend time every night doing that. I'd rather spend time helping you learn C coding, C game development, terminal Linux skills, cloud super. If you want to make a Minecraft server, go for it. You're going to have to pay the money to do it in the cloud and stuff. And I don't want to pay that money. Not right now anyway. I mean, the income from the stream is going up, so maybe eventually I'll pay for one in the cloud. The problem is as soon as I run a Minecraft server, right now I'm not promoting Minecraft at all, because every single Minecraft client is vulnerable. And so I've actually been telling parents to have their children stop playing Minecraft immediately until they can be absolutely sure that it's been patched. And there is no patch for it yet. There's no patch for this fix. You know that, right? They tried to announce that there was a fix for the Log4j thing, and then they found another thing within 12 hours. Look, if you have children with Minecraft right now that are playing it, you need to tell them to stop. Stop connecting to any system on the internet with Minecraft at all. And I personally think they should stop playing Minecraft at all until I would re-image those computers that had Minecraft on them. And I would wait for at least a month until they come out with a solid fix for this. Minecraft says that they fixed it. I don't believe them. Minecraft Bedrock C++. The new one? I don't know. Yeah, if you're playing Java, you know what? You make a good point. You make a good point. If you're using Java Edition, but anyone who's using Java Edition in the server, if you're running a server, you definitely should look at this. Like if you're running Spigot or any of those, the new Minecraft is C++. That's right. I forgot about that. So if you know that Minecraft is using C++, I would just be really careful with it. In the Bedrock Edition, that's true. I forgot about that. Because when we were doing it was all Java. Also, you can customize the Java one a little bit better. Main for your open source alternative games out there. Yes. Yes. If I play Minecraft only solo, nothing can happen to me. Am I wrong? I mean, if you shut down your network access to anything, then you're probably fine. I would run Minecraft with the network connections off, or I would turn your firewall back on. Yeah. I don't know. It's really risky. And most kids that play Minecraft have got tons of mods. You can't run modded Minecraft with Bedrock Edition. And a lot of parents don't know the difference, so I just like throw it all out. Because it's a different question. We'll do. So there you go. That's what I would do for Kubernetes differently. I got to go back to work. See you in a bit.